All right, we are recording. This is Tim Selden of Montessori Foundation. With me is my colleague, Christy Ansack, also from the Montessori Foundation, and we have a few guests. We know how incredibly busy everyone is this time of the year. Those of you who are still running schools, as opposed to semi-retired or fully retired, and who are able to make time, we really appreciate your dedication. I'll bet you even Lisa Reiner won't show up this week. Everyone is busy, 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 busy. Anyway, bottom line is the Montessori Family Alliance. I was just talking to Dr. Cindy Acker this morning about, and she said, Tim, I think it would be really, really helpful if this year you could start a whole series of communications to parents, videos, emails, everything to try to help them to appreciate why you need to stay in Montessori through kindergarten and through graduation. I said, what do you think the Montessori Family Alliance is all about? So our intention is not to replace what those of us who are running schools do every single year. We hold parent ed, we hold orientation, we send out newsletters, we do all kinds of things. But from my experience, there are a couple of issues. Number one, today's parents are sort of overwhelmed, and it takes a lot to get their attention and hold it. The second is, from their point of view, the tuition they pay you is more than they probably pay to rent an apartment or buy a car. And in their mind, this is really, really expensive. Why do they need to do this? And they're looking for an excuse to break up with you. And so it's really hard to compete with free. On the other hand, you and I know that what we offer families can be life changing. Not every parent that comes to our schools understands this or cares. They're not there for that. They're just there because they need someone to watch their kid or because their child is not succeeding in conventional school. There are all kinds of reasons why people do it, but only a small percentage of people choose it for the right reasons and stay. I'm going to ask those of us who are here. Christy, you've got two young people, one of whom just graduated from Montessori High School. Why did you do it all these years?
Um, I think I just believed in the process and the understanding from obviously learning from you very early when they were starting in the primary environment of Montessori that it wasn't a race, obviously, and that if you really watch how it works year after year and how it builds on the process, you just see it, and it was really it was never really an option for me for my children. I felt like I could see the growth and I could see where they were going, and just the parent education I think that I got as a parent when they were younger, that I could see what came before and what was going to come after, so I could see it with other children that were older than them. So I think the vision of just the understanding of what that looked like through high school. So yeah, for me, it was kind of obvious, but I understand that not not all parents get that education. So I think that's part of the important part is getting that message across and making sure that they can see, what's ahead of them for their child, not just, that year.
And my experience is they don't really want to hear it. At least many of them don't, because in their minds, again, they're spending a lot of money to be part of our school. Their friends are putting pressure on them. I remember Joyce was approached as a lawyer by her law partners. Don't you want your kids to go to university? They couldn't believe that Montessori was real school, because in their mind it's just kindergarten, it's just preschool, it's just play, and these kids can do whatever they want. There are all kinds of misunderstandings, and they don't want to hear it from us. I mean, there's a reason why people drag you, Christy, or me, or Robin, or Michael Dorr when he was with us, or Paul Epstein, or really all the people. In our own school, we are not a hero. In our own school, they don't want to hear us because they've heard it before, and they know that we're trying to sell them Tupperware. And so the theory, when I retired from Barry, the very first thing I did as a vice president of the American Montessori Society, was to offer the American Montessori Society the opportunity that we would create a parent magazine. And in those days, and this is now 30 some years ago, in those days, magazines had more power. It really wasn't practical to do much other than magazine. I mean, gosh, in 1993, the year I left Barry, that was the first year the internet really had websites on a big scale. We had Montessori.org was one of the very first websites, at least in the Montessori world. And so we really were ahead of the curve. Today, people don't read magazines. They look at stuff on their phones. They do it in car line, and they don't show up in the way they used to our parent education evenings. Usually, it's the same 5 parents. And you tell me, those of you who are out there, like Margot and Pecky and so forth, Tracy, don't we see the same 5 families year after year? I mean, month after month. They're the only people that show up. And we go out of our way to design these great, great workshops on how we teach kids to read and how the elementary program works. And it's not that it isn't valuable. We need to keep doing it. The Montessori journey is a marvelous experience. We need to have our own newsletter from our school. I mean, there are all kinds of things we need to do. But our parents really are not engaging in general the way they did when many of us started. And so the theory of the Montessori Family Alliance is twofold. Number one, we still produce a print magazine, believe it or not. Christy's about to pack them up, she and her kids. I don't know the kids anymore, but she will literally pack the boxes and ship the bulk copies of the magazine out. However, the average parent doesn't read it at all. They don't even know what it is. They don't care. And they don't really read that much print. It just goes in the circular filing cabinet, the trash can. On the other hand, what we're doing is we're hammering at them with emails and messages, and we're going to be we've in the past had these weekly webinars for parents when their kids were napping. We're going to be doing all kinds of things with guest speakers from around the world to try to get the attention of parents. But the big thing is the Montessori Family Alliance in its current configuration is very, very different from what we used to do on Montessori.org. Now, at the moment, it's not an app. If you wanted to find it, you'd go to familyalliance.montessori.org, and the first thing you would see is a landing page. If you're not already a member, you would sign up. You can do a 2-week free trial if you want. You can cancel if you find it's not valuable. But the bottom line is the average person that joins the Alliance is not connected to a school. They're an individual family, and they pay either $8 a month or $59 a year if it's upfront, and it's cheap. The nearest competitor is Childhood Potential, which has a program that's almost $400 a year US to belong to it. Now, lots of organizations are doing things. Our friends at Montetopia are organizing some sort of program, and I believe that their charge is considerably higher per family than what we're charging. And then we have, again, AMS is trying to argue we should send out the information that they send, which is fine, but it's usually just a few times a year, and the average parent needs this stuff drip fed to them almost every day because the average person is hearing so many marketing messages a day. In fact, it's about 5,000 a day, according to HubSpot these days. They're just overwhelmed. And so what it's really all about for you and your families and for us at the Montessori Foundation is to develop a trusted relationship. That's what we're trying to do. We cannot replace you. At the Barry School, at the Newgate School, at all the Montessori schools that are part of the program, it really is still about a relationship between you and your families. And where we fit in is we're the outsiders. We're grandma and grandpa. Not that Christy's a grandma. Um, we are out there providing an outside voice, a lot of humor, lots of different things that we think capture their heart and attention. Some of you know my friend Brianna Reddig from Tiny Cabin Montessori, which again the average parent doesn't see. She's one of our strategic partners, and we have lots more who are doing things mostly for Montessori teachers to entertain us, but she's also doing a really great job of educating and entertaining parents. And what we're doing is collecting the best people from around the world to start to have a channel of feeding out to parents. The other thing is we will introduce you to Abigail. Abigail, you may like AI, you may not like AI, but AI is here to stay whether you like it or not. And Abigail is my trained AI. And Abigail is quite the character. And if you go into the Family Alliance and you ask her, how do I get my kids to eat their broccoli? Or how do I get them to go to sleep? Or she's just been invited to a bat mitzvah. What the heck is that? And what do I send with her? She'll help you. And it's not generic ChatGPT or Claude. It is trained to know how the Montessori Foundation would answer, but it is a real answer. And these parents can save it. They can keep a journal of what the child's journey is. They keep a record for each of their individual children. Or we just had a school in Virginia say, I don't think our parents want their family information inside of a website. And could we just use it as a library? And the answer is yeah, you can use it for whatever you want. Or you can put stuff in there that doesn't get recorded. It doesn't have to be saved. For example, you can design your bedroom for the children inside of there. It will literally guide you through what to do for their bedroom without trying to sell you bedroom furniture. So we think the Family Alliance is important for a lot of reasons. One of which is we're not only trying to provide a library of resources and videos and all that stuff, and we've got a lot of stuff, and it's only beginning. I mean, if you ever look at Montessori.org, the typical person who has been a member of that in the past has said it's overwhelming. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of resources and articles in there, and they're not easy to find. And so, unless you really take the time, the Montessori Foundation website can be rather overwhelming to people. Whereas the Family Alliance, again, being AI control, you can ask Abigail a question and she'll serve it up to you. It makes it much, much easier to find what you want or to ask a question. Now, it's going to become an app. At the moment, it's not. You would go to familyalliance.montessori.org. But within the next month, it's going to be an app on their smartphone, which is how a lot of these people are going to use it. Let's face it. So before I get into the slideshow, do any of you who are online have any questions that you want to ask either in the chat or just unmute like Margot typically does and just shout it out? Nope. It's one of those days. All right, then I will share. Margot's back, but she's not unmuted. So, oh, there you go. Let me share my screen. I hope. I don't, here we go. Here's sharing the screen. And let me find Canva, which is this. Hopefully you're now seeing that. And let me get this out of the way. And let me get to present. So the Montessori Family Alliance is one of the oldest programs of the Montessori Foundation. What we're attempting to do is to actually create an alliance. Now, in my vision, the way this would work is that at your Montessori school, your parent organization or your community of parents would be called the Family Alliance. The reason for that is I believe the best way to build up our retention year after year is to give these parents a sense of identity. They don't want to swear an oath of allegiance to Maria Montessori. And frankly, they don't want to swear an unconditional oath to you as a school, even though they may love you. What they want to do is to keep.
Joyce St. Germain, or three others.
Forgive me, my wife is calling, and let me just tell her that I can't talk to her now. Okay. So the idea of the Family Alliance is this is a community of families that we hope will become international. I know some of you, like Becky, you are in Tanzania. Some of the others are overseas. Our intention is to give parents a way of forming a connection, a relationship. And we have Facebook groups. We will probably also have an in-app way that people can talk to each other with curation because we don't want people slamming a Montessori school or bad mouthing each other or anything like that. But our intention is to teach people how to be Montessori families. That includes how to raise their kids. Huh. Why isn't this? Hold on. It's something is wrong. Trying to get to go to the next slide. There we go. So, what is the Montessori Family Alliance? It is, among other things, parent support. It is Montessori guidance, both in terms of how to get the kid to go to bed or to stop beating up on his sister or what to give him for his birthday or great books, great movies, great toys. It is intended to nurture a relationship between the family and your school, because that's our fundamental goal, is to help schools. And it's intended to create a sense of community. So there are 6 ways that the MFA, or Montessori Family Alliance, can support a family. The first is Ask Abigail. And forgive me, I see stuff on the right that's a mess, and it's saying anytime, anytime, anytime. So Ask Abigail is, again, my trained AI Montessori support assistant. We have an age-oriented resource library. We have Tomorrow's Child magazine and the archive of 34 years worth. We have the weekly e-newsletter, which some of you are probably seeing in your email feed. It's called Montessori Family Life. We have live, excuse me, live expert parent talks. Again, Gavin McCormick has agreed from Australia. Paul Epstein, myself, people from all over the nation will be doing live interactive talks just like we do with you during the day, except these will probably be at night, at least nighttime local US, and they will be recorded as well, and they'll be interactive. And then we're going to have all kinds of practical family activities and recommendations. For example, there is a contest that we'll be running called Are You Smarter Than a Montessori Kid? It's intended to be a complete support system for Montessori families. It is meant to, again, create school-home partnership. And at school intention, you and I, we guide children. At home, we try to support you. So the MFA extends Montessori understanding into family life without asking the family to recreate the school at their home. In other words, we do not want these people buying Montessori materials and feeling like they need to do that. We would like them to teach their kid how to use a vacuum or how to walk the dog or bathe the dog or help with dinner. In other words, we think kids need to be part of the life of the family and not waited on by us. At school, we have trained guides to prepare the environment, they observe each child, and they offer their individualized support every day. At home, the MFA gives families trusted answers, Montessori grounded resources, and practical guidance in right when they need it. Because when they need it, it's going to be at 2 in the morning when they're awake and they're going to be on their phone, and they need to be able to ask whatever they want when they want it, whether it's in car line when they're waiting to pick their child up, or they're in the grocery line, whatever. That's the way most people consume anything these days. So what we want to do is try to help parents to speak the same language, to have some understanding of what the heck we're up to, and have confidence that you really do know what you're talking about at school. Now, again, we offer this to families who are not enrolled in a Montessori school. And they're going to be families with newborn children who are going to get incredible value. And there'll probably be homeschoolers that get incredible value. And there'll be people who don't have a Montessori school that will buy it. And they'll pay a lot more than what we offer it to families through a school. So literally 1/8 of the price, $1 a month versus $8 a month for schools to offer it to their families. Now, what we argue is that parents have questions and they don't want to hear it as a lecture unless they do. When they want to know something, they want an answer quickly. And there are all kinds of things that these people are getting from the internet, and a lot is just garbage. It's just ill-informed. Again, there are other people that are offering good stuff, but it's very, very hard for parents to find reliable sources of information. And most of what they're going to stumble into is somebody who's trying to sell them PDFs that they need to pay $8 to print out on their color printer. That is really not what we have in mind. The typical parent is upset because their child doesn't want to go to school, because she's struggling to go to sleep, because there's sibling conflict, there's screen time, there's discipline, school readiness, trouble with their friends. They hit the adolescent years. There's a transition from toddler to preschool or preschool to elementary, all sorts of issues. This is the kind of stuff that parents bring up to you and your teachers and to us every single year. So what we're trying to do is serve families across every single age level, from infancy, pregnancy, all the way through high school and university. So Abigail, there she is. Abigail is our AI generated assistant. She's inside the Family Alliance. Parents type a question in plain everyday language. Probably we're going to go to voice activated. She'll talk back to them. But at the moment, you type in with your fingers if you're on a phone, and you get a decent answer back every time. She is drawing on content. We have been training Abigail for the last 3 years, and she's got all my books. She's got all the Montessori books. She could probably pass a Montessori diploma course right now, and probably on steroids, knowing Abigail. And what she is basically intended to be is a parent's confidential advisor on all things Montessori, not just how Montessori works in school, how do they deal with their child. So they can ask people in plain language. They don't need any Montessori jargon. They just type the question just as they would if they're asking a friend. They're going to receive good guidance. And basically, the intention is not to replace, again, what your teachers do. It's to provide a 24/7 source of expertise that we can trust to give reliable information to people. Parents ask all kinds of things like, how do I get my kid to get out of the car and go into the school? Or what do I do when he cries because there's a holiday? Or how do I set limits at home without creating conflict? Or my child doesn't listen to me, he listens to his teachers better than me. Or should my 4-year-old already be reading? Why isn't he reading? He's in a Montessori school. Or what do I do with my teenager and his smartphone? I mean, what do I do? So the idea is parents ask, Abigail clarifies, we give the parent trusted information or advice and a lot of practical ideas, and they can save this if they want. So again, they create literally an archive of advice that they've gotten from Abigail for each of their individual children. Or if they don't want to put their child in, they don't need to. So AI is not intended to be a substitute for your school. It is a guide. It helps people to find what they're looking for in the site. It helps them to understand how Montessori works in simple language. It prepares better questions that the parent is likely to throw at your teachers. It is not intended to replace you or your teachers or your school. It's not psychotherapy. It is not going to replace the living, trusted relationship between the family and your school. It's meant to be a supplement. There is a resource library with all sorts of information on friendships and literacy and math and anything that a parent might possibly ask is going to be in there. And if it's not in there, Abigail will write them a whole answer on the spot. And it's organized around the child's development. Again, we cover, everything from infancy and toddlers through high school and beyond. It comes with Tomorrow's Child, which is our magazine, which hopefully you all have seen before. It's got all the various book reviews and suggestion of great toys and things like that. Although I must tell you, I'm pulling the book reviews out of the printed magazine. They're going into the e-news. The e-news comes out normally every week, and it typically has about 5 articles per issue and all kinds of stuff. And hopefully you've all seen it. At this point, I've been sending out to everyone on our email list. In a few weeks, it's going to only go to the members of the Alliance. We have plans for live parent talks with leading experts from around the world. Again, I think you'll be pleased. Those of you who have been on our Tuesday and Thursday talks, you know that we're able to find all sorts of interesting people to join us. We're going to do the same thing for parents, except it'll be issues that the parents really like. One of the things that I'm really big on is economic literacy. I'll be gathering people who can offer you advice on how to teach your kids the value of money and how to save for their college education, or how to take advantage of the scholarship system, because very few of us who are the parents of Montessori graduates actually have to pay much, if anything, for college. I love telling the story of Ben Bogard, who graduated from Newgate a number of years ago. He always wanted to go to MIT. He wore an MIT sweatshirt when he was a little kid. And when it came time to go to university, MIT only offered him 40% scholarship, so he turned them down. University of Georgia paid him to go to college, and he graduated, I think, in 2 years and is now a young man with a house of his own that he's paid off. And he's a great example of what a Montessori kid can be. We also have lots of practical ideas for Montessori family life, books, suggested books, home activities, trips to take with your child, all kinds of things. You may also know we're really into gardening and raising dogs and horses and all this sort of stuff. And this is part of the messaging. Again, our intention is that the MFA, or Montessori Family Alliance, will be a regular part of these families' life, so it doesn't just get on their iPhone and they forget about it. We want to develop a relationship with them if at all possible. Also, if your school joins, we are going to give you free memberships for your staff so that they know what the parents are seeing. They will not be able to see a parent's private information, but they'll be able to get a hold of articles. And part of the deal is, as a school member of the Alliance, you can share articles and resources from the Family Alliance in your own newsletters or emails to your parents. Now, how will schools do it? Well, you can use it from admission all the way through graduation. It's intended to support every stage of the journey. For example, we always use Tomorrow's Child at Newgate and Barry. In fact, this originally was the Barry School magazine. We used it with prospective families. So I personally like having it in print, although there's nothing wrong with using the digital version. You will be able to share the magazine with prospective families. We use it in enrollment, the whole idea of, why financial aid and where's all the money go. We believe very strongly in helping families for the first 90 days to get their child ready for school and to get them through that first 3 months. Parent education and re-enrollment, all of this, the whole argument of why should you stay in Montessori? And the idea that this is part of every family's journey. And you can use this during admission in all kinds of different ways. One of the things you can do is set up, whether you use Thrive or whether you use the Montessori Growth Suite, or you're part of our enrollment accelerator, or whatever program you're using, you can queue up all kinds of articles to send out to nurture prospective families or families you've just admitted into the school. And of course, you can use the MFA, Montessori Family Alliance, to bring your new families into the school. You can assign specific articles to them. You could send them out. You can print them, all kinds of stuff. This is way overwhelmingly rich information about Montessori curriculum, about everything involved with Montessori and how private schools work or public Montessori schools work. And you can use it all year. Again, this doesn't stop during the summer. We've been sending out newsletters in the summertime to get families ready for school. We're going into high gear now to get parents into the new school year for that part of the nation that starts after Labor Day. This is all part of the program. And it's intended to, again, not just educate parents. We're trying to get parents to trust schools. If they choose to homeschool, then they choose to homeschool. Our open position is we don't recommend it, because even if you were a Montessori teacher, you need a bigger group than most people are going to have with a few kids at home. We really believe in the idea of being part of a school community. And we are, of course, encouraging partnership, the idea of families really appreciating what you're doing, of treating your teachers with respect, of understanding what goes into this. So we have these school rollouts that we recommend, and you will be getting a copy of this PDF of this slideshow. It'll be sent to you by Christy after this is over, along with the link to the recording. And there are pathways. Again, what it normally costs a family individually is $8 a month, or if they prepay for the year, $59 a year. For a school, it's $1 a month, or $12 for a family for an entire year. If you want to send out print in the United States, sorry, Becky, we can't do this to Tanzania. But if you wanted to add print, then the price goes to $25 a family a year. And by the way, it's per family, not per individual parent. So how do you sign up? You go to familyalliance.montessori.org and you click on Join the MFA. You choose your pathway. Are you a school or are you an individual family? Anyone can set up an individual account if that's what you want. And they create a family profile, and that's it. You start talking to Abigail. By the way, one of the things that we offer is what we call an affiliate program, which even a school that's a member of the Family Alliance can join as an affiliate. Now, we do ask that you not do that and basically pay for your own individual school and get a 30% discount, although we can't stop you if you do it. The idea is that families, we always see families that want to join, and we're offering a lifetime 30% of all member dues if you choose to become an affiliate. So that's about it for me. Christy, anything you want to add?
Not specifically, no. I mean, I'd love to hear if anybody has any questions that maybe we can answer.
For all of you who are grandparents, just think about being able to say to your children's friends who are asking about Montessori and they don't want to send their kid to a Montessori school, they can join the Family Alliance. And if you're an affiliate, Again, you individually or your school can be an affiliate and you will get lifetime membership, 30% of everything they pay. Anyone? No questions. Okay. Well, again, I really appreciate the fact that unless you're retired, this is a time of year where it's very, very hard to get a Montessori educator to show up at an event because we are scrambling. Tammy Willen down at Bay Montessori, I know, is getting ready for the faculty retreat next Monday. I know that teachers are already showing up at our schools that are setting up classrooms. People are just going nuts. My son Mark is down at Renaissance Montessori in Cary, Indiana, North Carolina. I know that they have a sewer backup, which is the same thing that Tammy's dealing with down in Leonard's Lexington Park, Maryland, which is where she's located. Whatever's going on, wherever you are in the world, you know what it's like. We're all juggling way too many balls. We're all doing way too many things. So, Sandy, anything from you? Got any questions you want to ask? Sandy's good. Um, no questions from anybody? No? Okay. Well, then all I can say is, again, I really encourage you, if you've not seen this before, whether you're in India, and I know that Rekha, you are in India, as I recall, New Delhi, do I remember correctly? Um, and we always appreciate when you get on late at night, and you're a hardy person. So again, for all over the world, even though we don't spell color the British way, although we could probably arrange that too, um, I think you would find that we welcome articles and photographs and videos from Montessori schools around the world. Our goal is to create a movement, an international, multinational movement of schools and families. So again, our vision is that your school becomes a member of the Alliance. The Alliance has chapters in every city. The cities set up, events where all the children are invited to some big event, whether they're going to see a movie together, whether they're having a sports game together, whether they've got a soccer league or football league, whatever it is, an art show, a debate. Are you smarter than a Montessori child? Competitions, all these things. We believe the future is to give families a sense of ownership, of membership, participation, and not just being customers paying tuition at your school, but rather
Tim, I
people.
have a question.
Please.
I'm a little late. So, my question, hi, again, back from India, late in the night, very loyal to all your meetings. So, my question was, although developmentally the expectation academically is standardized, right? I mean, universally, wherever a child might be. But culturally, the academic expectation might differ. So, how will you address that in the AI setup that you have? Because the answers might be standardized. I could give you an example. Say reading expectancy in India, it's a very competitive academic setup context. So we, I think, are little escalated there. So how would that be answered when it's a standardized data that your AI would be using?
Well, again, anything's possible, but I imagine what someone would say is, "Hi, Abigail. I'm in New Delhi. I have a 4-year-old, and I'm wondering, she doesn't read yet. What's wrong?"
Hmm.
And I think that what she would do, because she's got access to the internet, she would compare our curriculum against what's publicly available in India. And she would probably give a parent an answer that would sound sort of like what would happen if you asked me the question, which would be, I'm not as familiar with India's traditions because my home is in the United States. However, it seems to me that the way I would think of this is let's look at what do you know about your child? And let's, compare that against what you believe a child should know in your country, your tradition. And remember that every child, no matter what, is going to learn at their own pace. And it's not a race, it's a journey. What we're trying to do is cultivate a love of learning rather than cram it down their throat. In other words, it's going to consistently push basic international Montessori values.
All right. Okay. The second part of my question would be as a school owner. So I was the head of a school, not really a parent, and I'm based out of Bangalore, to correct you. I'm not based out of Delhi. Uh, as a school owner, I feel a sense of insecurity when some program like yours, which is actually solving a pain point for school. But having said that, the whole idea of a Montessori model is to build a community. And you are taking off that function from a school. Like I said, you're solving a problem for sure, but I also have an insecurity about it. How will you assure me that I don't know? I don't know if I'm being coherent there. Do you understand the?
No, I
Uh,
understand entirely. I've
yeah.
done it. I've been a school leader for most of my life, more than 50 years. I think the answer is I'm going to be encouraging families to be involved with their school, to be
Mhm.
active, to whatever, obviously every school has its own tradition. Some schools really welcome volunteers, welcome people to observe, want people to be involved, other parents. Other schools want them to pay their tuition and show up on time and pay their bills and whatever. There's no one answer. But I think that our basic thought is gratitude. You should appreciate what these teachers go through. You should appreciate the fact that these people are partners with you in raising your children. And the more you know about Montessori, the more likely you are to not only understand and appreciate what the teachers are trying to do, but hopefully it will be of some practical use to you in your home.
Mm. Okay.
So this is
Kind
intended
of.
to supplement, not replace what you would do in the school.
Mm, I get that. Would need a little more convincing though, but then I mean, you're assuring enough for now.
Well, again, I think, if I was in Bangalore, and I know I'm
Hmm.
talking to Navneet about this right now, is I would become an affiliate. And I'm sure you've got people that you meet who may not be in your school, but might want to know about Montessori. And I basically say, join as an individual. Some will, some won't. Obviously, when you're outside the United States, it's either going to be a bargain or it's going to be expensive. But if you're getting a 30% of everything that comes in, paid
Mm.
out by PayPal, once you hit 50 US dollars, it's a good way to raise extra money.
Okay, that's luring.
Yeah. Again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it possible for schools to have choices. We have schools in the United States that obviously buy this for their families. We have other schools that say our budget is very tight, we cannot afford it. So
Mm.
if you choose to say to a family, if you're interested in learning more, here's a trusted source. It is American, so it's not going to be perfect, but this is a very powerful source. And if you're not going to be in our school, or if you are going to be in our school and you want to learn more, you can click this link and you can join. Well, then you get 30% permanently, not just once, for every time they renew, whether they pay by the month or pay annually. And you're doing a good thing. So if you can't afford, if you decided at your school that you wanted to offer it to your families or to families of, friends, if you say to families, if you know a family wants to know more about Montessori, have them click this link and it raises money for our school. This is all possible of what you can do. But
Thank you for
again,
that.
our real vision, though, is to create this international community of Montessori schools. Not that every Montessori school is different, but the idea that we have more in common than divides us, and that families need to, look at this with an attitude of gratitude. that you're part of something globally to make a difference in the world.
Thank you for that. It answers quite a few of my insecurities.
Good. I'm glad. Anyone else? Well, hearing nothing else again, and recognizing that this is the busiest time of the year for most of the North American schools, I just again encourage you, take a look, go set up a free account if you want. You will need a credit card, but you can cancel the free account, and then later you can merge it into your school account if you decide to do it, or become an affiliate. To become an affiliate, you would send an email to Christy, to me, or to info@montessori.org. We would set you up. I'm sure we'll start sending out letters to people saying, if you want to become an affiliate, click here and sign up, because you can. It's really quite easy to do. So without any further ado, if no one else has anything that they want to ask or say, I'll let you go back to lunch or let you go back to whatever you're doing. Rika, I really appreciate you staying up so late. It means a lot to me that you do that.
I'm a big fan of your work, Tim, so I should thank you.
Thank you. I see Allison Spears here. And again, Margot, I appreciate you coming in week after week to everything we do. So this won't be the only time we'll talk about this, because this is a big movement we're trying to start. And we will nudge at this, hopefully until people get sick of hearing it, because we really believe that whether you do it with us, whether you develop your own program, whether you choose a competitor's program, we don't care. The bottom line is we're trying to help schools to help themselves. And there's no one answer. We just think there's an advantage to something like this that we think is more affordable, that we think is, at least from an authoritative source, that we think is more aimed at today's young parent, the way they think and the way they consume information, and that's really intended to not represent just one organization. We are not AMS, we're not AMI, we're not IMC. We're friends to everybody. And so that's the intention here, including the homeschooling parent. We don't recommend it, but hey, if that's what they choose to do, we want to hear from them and want to help them as much as we can too. Okay, everyone, we will see you next week. Bye-bye.